All right, good morning. So, give me 1 second. All right, so today we are working on the volume of cylinders, cones, and spheres. And we are doing 3 things at once because they all have something in common. They all have a circle, and their formulas for the most part look very similar. So, first things first. I want you guys to understand that the overarching volume formula for most shapes is base times height, okay? Base does not mean the length of the base or the width of the base. Base means the area of the base shape. Now, every shape that's three-dimensional gets its name from the base shape. Rectangular prism has a base of a rectangle. A cube has the base of a square. Cylinder or sphere, sphere obviously, or cone has the base of a circle, all right? Triangular prism has a triangle as the base, hence that's how it gets its name. So the area of the base shape is a circle, which is pi times radius squared. Radius is half the diameter. Do not forget that because tons of kids your age always make that mistake, so be aware. Think of it like diameter has more letters in it, so it's longer. Radius has fewer letters, so it's shorter. That helps you memorize which one's which. So real quick, we got the area of a circle is pi times radius squared, and pi is always 3.14. Shortened up. The volume of a cylinder is volume equals base times height, or another way to think about it, if the base is the shape of a circle, then the formula is actually volume equals pi radius squared height. All next to each other implies multiplication. All right, and the volume of a cylinder is 1/3 the base of a height. Base times the height, because think about it, it's slanted in, so it's losing that much volume. So if you open it back up, that accounts for the lack of the 2/3 if the cylinder and the cone were the exact same size, height and diameter. Last but not least, you got a sphere, which is V equals 4/3 times pi times radius cubed. I'm going to go through 3 different examples for you, okay, and just go through the motions to set it up. Now, when you see a line drawn across the entire circle through the middle, that is assumed that is the diameter always, okay? So you have to know that. So you have to know to cut that 16 in half to 8. So you're going to set up your formula. V equals pi times radius squared times the height. Now, the directions will always tell you most of the times to use 3.14 in place of pi. So 3.14, times 64 times 7. So the volume equals 1,406.72. However, if they asked you to leave this in terms of pi, your answer would be V equals 64 times 7 is 448. So this would be considered 448 pi. Some of the directions in the future might ask you to leave your answers in terms of pi. This is what it means, okay? It means to just don't multiply, don't change this 3.14 and multiply it against 448. They mean literally just leave it with pi next to it, because we know that implies 448 times this pi symbol. And as you move through algebra, you'll see why that's important to leave things in terms of pi. But for right now, the majority of your directions will say to change pi to 3.14. Over here for the cylinder, for the cone, we got this one. So again, start with your formula. V equals 1/3 times pi, which we know is going to be 3.14, times 3 squared times 4. All right, so again, go ahead and do the motions. V equals 1/3 times 3.14 times 9 times 4, and you get a volume of 37.68. But if it said to leave your answer in terms of pi, your answer is going to be this. V equals 12 pi, because all you're doing is doing 9 times 4, which is 36, times 1/3, which is 12. Look how clean that is, times pi. Leave your answer like that sometimes. It's an or. All right, both are equivalent, even though this one's estimated, this one is exact. And you'll see why that's important later on. Last but not least, you got a sphere, okay? And this one says to make sure you cube it and you don't square it, okay? So this one's going to be y equals 4/3 times 3.14 times 9 cubed, okay? When you run through your calculator, you're going to get an answer of 3,052.08, or if it asked you to leave it in terms of pi, you just got to do 4/3 times 9 cubed, so your answer could be 972 pi. And that is what we are doing today, using equations. Remember, this ties in with what we just did yesterday with look at the equation, what letters do we know, substitute those letters with those numbers, perform the operations. You've got to write down all the steps, because if you don't, you might disorganize yourself, make silly mistakes. I will see you in class.